Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video. Today we will be discussing the differences between observers in Java and Bedrock and also all of its uses in Minecraft Pocket Edition. Different pulses, double piston extenders, discos. Observers have countless uses and they can be very helpful for any Minecraft Redstone contraption. Okay, so without further ado, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and click the bell, and let's get into this. Let's start out with one of the most simplest creations that a lot of people use the observer for, which is the automatic sugarcane farm. It's really common, and I could list a ton more that you can use observers for, but they're generally really useful for any form of farm. So, today I'm going to be explaining how this works and why it is different in Java. So, in Java, when an observer releases a signal, it considers the observer as an entire block. So it powers the entire observer, which will then send out a redstone tick as a powered block would. And as you guys might know, a powered block will send out a redstone tick in all directions to anything that is in the receiving side. If a repeater is facing the opposite direction, it will not send a tick. So let's just test our theory. So in Java, this works perfectly fine. This form of sugarcane farm works excellent in the sugarcane. All you have to do is this, and then a block activates, and you would have this right here. The problem is that in PE, Pocket Edition Redstone does not consider the observer to be be a powered block. When an observer is powered, it sends out a tick to the block behind it through the output signal. So that tick can be harnessed in actually a solid block, which can then be collected with a redstone wire right below that solid block. Sorry, my depth perception was a little bit off. And then that should power the piston, which should power the redstone. So if we go here, let's pretend this is sugarcane growing. As you can see, it works very nice in sending out a tick and expelling it, because an observer, and this is super important, a lot of people don't understand this, and that's why making things with observers is so difficult for them, because it's hard to realize that the observer is not an actual, it's a transparent block, but PE treats it 100% like that, while Java is a little bit funky and treats it as if it were actually a powered block when it's powered, which is honestly useful for redstone, but it's completely different. So yeah, the observer runs into the block, powers the block, and then it powers the redstone dust, which powers the piston. Simple form of translating it onto there. Okay, so now we're going to be discussing a way for you to change the observer's pulse to a solid pulse of however much you want. This can work with any form of flicker. I'm talking about a button, anything. You can change it into a solid one. This is a super easy format I've divided myself. So you know how the observer, it releases a pulse. So you place a block right here and it pulses. But what if I told you there's a way to increase the pulse, to make it change? So there actually is a way, pretty simple. You want to have a piston, a redstone block. It needs to be a piston coming out from the observer, a redstone block, and then another piston down here. So how this actually works is that when you power the observer, it powers the piston, which then powers this. If I were to add like a lot of delay to this like little circuit right here, it would completely like change the pulse, which can make it as long as you want, which is a super simple component in redstone that honestly works amazing. So let's try that again, and as you see, you can actually increase the amount of time it takes for the pulse to work, which is honestly, I think, fantastic. So there you go, and it works. That's honestly amazing, and it works really nice for the... Here, let me just add something to make it even better. Is that the correct? No, it's not. Okay. We just want to make sure that it ticks off and ticks back and off really quickly. So what happens is that the observer reads the signal from the redstone, which then takes it to the piston, and it just does it in a quick flash. There we go. So there, it comes back a lot quicker. That was a slight bug. I'm sorry about that, guys. But basically, it's honestly really cool how it does that, and this is a really cool hack for how to elongate a observer pulse. I honestly wish when I started Redstone I knew this. I came up with this. If this already exists, well then I didn't look at any tutorials. So the disco light, which is a very misunderstood concept in Redstone. A lot of people think it's very difficult, but it's really simple. But you need to understand the mechanics of it. So the observer will take whatever input it gets, and then the observer block, although it doesn't power, it actually delivers a slight tick change, what the next observer reads, and then that delivers a tick change, which honestly goes on forever. And these observers pointing into these actually read all of the ticks, so you kind of get that nice little kind of vibrating effect. So it's a really simple contraption that a lot of people don't understand perfectly. Okay, so now we're going to be going to the double piston extender. The observer is a very nice way to do this in Pocket Edition. So I was actually, when I was trying to make a 3x3 piston door, but I thought that double piston extenders were really hard. When I actually got to work on one, I did it pretty well. So this is one of my worst designs, but I was kind of in a rush. I just made it on my own because I don't really steal that much unless it's. Yeah, I don't steal designs, and I credit the YouTuber if they give me design. But this is my own design. So what we have here is that we actually, for the last piston, you need it to power back and forth quickly. So what you need for that is a pulse. With the lever, it'll just power, but you're going to need a pulse. For these two, though, you're going to need just a grab, and for the last one, you're going to need a pulse, which I can demonstrate right here. I use the observer to take an input from the repeaters, so it senses that the repeaters are there, and it powers. So that's honestly just a really neat mechanic I installed. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's get into explaining. So what happens is that you power it like this, and then it powers. Okay, now I broke it. Funny how easy I break my systems. Okay, well, this isn't that reliable of a system, but it does work. Okay, so you power it like that, and I missed the timing up again. There we go. So what it does, it's a little bit slow, but it does its work pretty well. So what happens is that the torches are powering pistons. The pistons, they're pulling back, and yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm sorry, guys, but what happens that I want to explain is that the observer can actually change a solid solid pulse of a lever or redstone block into a tick, because what the observer does is that it reads those changes, and in turn it sends out a really nice signal, which is basically why the observer is so darn useful, because what you can do is you can change pulses into elongated systems. You can also change a continuous powering into a simple system, which is honestly awesome. So if you ever need help with a redstone contraption, if you're trying to power something with a lever, but you want it to flick back and forth in one part of the machine, but you want it to hold in another part of the machine, I would recommend using an observer to take the signal from the lever and moving it out back to the piston, which will then power with a pulse. So you can have blocks moving quickly back and forth. It's honestly a great machine for piston doors, and works really nice. So here we go. As you can see, it flicks back and forth. So the observer is honestly great at detecting those pulses. If you want it to only detect the powered pulses, you're going to need to do a little bit more system, but that's a story for another day. We're going to discuss another system in the observers that is pretty cool, pretty neat. I've discussed this in my zero tick video, but you can actually make the zero tick difference circuits with the observers, like that. Sorry, it's like this. So what happens is that the observers just create a continuous circuit, which is a lot more. It can, if you want a faster circuit than the repeater circle, then I would definitely recommend this circuit. It works pretty well. So if you just put like piston right here and piston right here, it would just you just see that it's just it works pretty well. It's pretty fast. So if you need like a fast like piston pushing machine, maybe like for like a mob grinder or something, this is a pretty good design. Yeah. Well. Yeah, we're also going to discuss the importance of observers in flying machines. So observers, what they do is that they detect an input, and they detect whatever, if a block changes in front of them. They detect any block change, even if it's just a manual data change, if a block is holding something else, or, yeah, it detects that. So, it also detects if it moves. If you have a piston actually pushing the observer, here, let me demonstrate. If you have a piston pushing the observer, here we go. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I accidentally used a non-sticky piston. Okay, and then we hook it up to a lever. So we have the observer going in there. It's looking for air, and then we see go. So it flicks on and back really quickly. This can also be used to create zero ticks. I'm pretty sure, not entirely sure, but I think so. So what it does is that it just really quickly powers it and depowers it, just like extremely fast. So this is probably one of the simplest flying machines you can make. I'm just gonna demonstrate to show you how it works on the observers. Where's slime block? I need slime block. Okay, so we have a slime block. Yeah, we have pretty much everything we need. Let's prepare that. Okay. Build a few blocks up. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to put piston right here. I'm not entirely sure if this is the right way to do it. I haven't done this one in a while. This design. You need a piston, an observer coming behind. Oh wait, no, it's the other way around. Okay, there we go. Oh, whoops. Okay, and then we want the sticky piston, just like this. Okay, and I'm not entirely sure, but I think it activates this way. Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay, there we go. So, basically this flying machine is probably one of the simplest ones you can make. Just use the piston and sticky piston. As you can see, what happens is that the observer can tell it's moving, so it releases a slight tick, which activates the piston again, which moves and so on. It kind of pushes itself back and forth. It doesn't work with two sticky pistons because it'll like lag out if you want to do it with two sticky pistons, and that's the same thing for all other flying machines. Okay, guys, well, I think we have discussed enough about observers for you guys to be pretty much a very, very good observer pro. I think we've discussed many circuits, and I think you guys have learned a lot today. If you've learned a lot, remember to leave a like and subscribe. I'm trying to reach 200 by the end of the summer. Well, summer's already ended, but I have school, but I mean, it's still summer, I guess. Well, that grew awkward. I hope you guys learned something new, and if you haven't learned anything, or if you have questions, leave them in the comments, because I will try to get to all of them. If you have questions about how the observer works, or if you need any more update on the observer functions, honestly, I really like this one. This one's so cool. Yeah, that's honestly, yeah, I really like that. It's cool. It's a cool system. You guys should definitely use it for a build if you guys want, because you can add all the delay you want. I've honestly been trying to figure out how to do that for years, and then I just got the breakthrough moment, and I figured it out pretty easily. So, all of these circuits are super simple and super easy for you guys to do. If you want me to make a follow-up video, if I show you guys actually everything you can do with observers, or if you guys want that, leave a like. If we get to actually, if we get to like 15 likes on this video, we'll do another one explaining what a redstone component can do. So I'll do like one explaining what a piston can do, or another one explaining what the repeater can do, and comparator. Whichever one, it's up to you guys, honestly. I want to thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and click the bell. And with that, I want to say, Cack World, out.